They had the worst record in football. 2 wins. Total chaos. But in 2020, they drafted a quarterback who changed everything. By year 2, he outdueled Mahomes in the AFC Championship and took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. This is the story of how one man redefined an entire franchise. For most of their history, the Bengals were a punchline. A team known more for losing streaks than trophies. They hadn't won a single playoff game in over 30 years. At ownership, run by Mike Brown, one of the poorest owners in the league, with outdated facilities and tight wallets. Between 1990 and 2005, not a single winning season. Even when they got decent, with Andy Dalton under center, they went 0-7 in the playoffs every single time. They flamed out in the wild card round. By 2019, the team was in free fall. Andy Dalton looked cooked. Zach Taylor was a rookie head coach with just 2 wins. And whispers started swirling. Were the Bengals tanking? Fans demanded a fair play investigation. Because how else do you explain a team that lost on purpose, but still couldn't lose all their games? But somehow, those 2 miserable wins earned them something priceless. The number 1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. And that set the stage for one of the biggest decisions in franchise history. But here's the thing. Joe Burrow wasn't a sure thing. He wasn't some 5-star golden boy. He wasn't crowned quarterback 1 at the powerhouse like Alabama. He was buried at Ohio State, watching from the bench for 3 straight years. He waited, he worked, he hoped. But when Dwayne Haskins was named the starter in 2018, Burrow made his move. He entered the transfer portal and landed at LSU, a program starving for a true quarterback star. His junior year, solid, but nothing legendary. A 10-3 season, a Fiesta Bowl win, decent stats. But then, everything changed. 2020 Joe Burrow, that guy wasn't supposed to exist. But in 2019, something clicked. And what followed was the most dominant season in college football history. The LSU Tigers, they weren't just good. They were a factory of NFL talent. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Queen, Grant Delpit. But everything revolved around Burrow. He didn't just lead. He conducted an orchestra. 15-0, a national championship, and numbers that looked like video game glitches. 5,671 passing yards, 60 touchdowns, a Heisman Trophy, throw in 368 rushing yards, and Burrow totaled over 6,000 yards in just 15 games. But it wasn't just stats. It was the swagger, the calm, the way he owned every moment. For a franchise drowning in irrelevance like Cincinnati, Joe Burrow didn't feel like a quarterback. He felt like a culture shift. So when the 2020 NFL Draft arrived, the Bengals didn't blink. They selected Joe Burrow, number 1 overall. The savior had arrived. The Bengals didn't just draft a quarterback, they drafted a belief system. But this wasn't a storybook start. His weapons, a massive downgrade from LSU. His O-line, practically non-existent. Week after week, Burrow took hit after hit after hit. And then it happened. Week 11 versus Washington, Burrow was crushed between 2 defenders, tearing both his ACL and MCL. Just like that, his rookie season was over. But even in just 10 games, Burrow gave Bengals fans everything they'd been waiting for. He looked calm, confident, NFL ready. He dropped 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in a shootout against the Browns and set the record for most completions through 8 games in NFL history. The Bengals finished 4-11-1, but no one cared, because for the first time in decades, there was hope they could finally become feared. Not maybe we sneak into the wild card kind of hope, but Super Bowl caliber, franchise-changing hope. And the crazy part? Burrow was just getting started. If there was one thing missing from Burrow's rookie year, it was connection. So in 2021, the Bengals went bold. With the 5th overall pick, they drafted Jamar Chase, reuniting Joe with his favorite LSU target. The move was controversial. They passed on elite linemen like Penei Sewell, despite Burrow's devastating injury. But when the season kicked off, the decision looked genius. The Bengals came out hot, 4-2 start, scoring in bunches. Burrow was in full command. And Chase, unguardable. Burrow and Chase didn't just pick up where they left off. They set the league on fire. Then came Week 7, Bengals versus Ravens, a test to see if Cincinnati was for real. What happened next was a declaration of war. 416 yards, 3 touchdowns. A 41-17 beatdown of Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. This wasn't luck. This was a statement. The Bengals were here, and they could beat anyone. Even after a couple midseason stumbles, they finished strong. Swept the Ravens again, took down the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. Burrow closed the season with 4,600 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and 14 picks. Chase, 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns as a rookie. From 2-14 to 10-7 in just 2 seasons. Don't click away. The most unbelievable part of the story is just ahead. What Joe Burrow did next changed everything. Then came the playoffs. And the Bengals weren't just happy to be there. They were dangerous. First, they took down Derek Carr and the Raiders. Burrow looked sharp. Then the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans sacked 9 times. Burrow still stood tall and delivered a walk-off win. And that set the stage for the AFC Championship. Arrowhead Stadium, Patrick Mahomes, a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. The moment was too big for most, not for Burrow. He didn't post insane stats. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and the clutch factor? Unreal. He led a game-tying drive in the 4th quarter, then engineered the game-winning drive in overtime. Burrow had just outdueled Mahomes on the road in January. From watching Haskins at Ohio State to outplaying Mahomes in January. The Bengals were going to the Super Bowl. 2 years ago, they were the laughingstock of the NFL. Now, they were on the biggest stage in sports. Burrow versus Stafford, Chase versus Cup, Aaron Donald hunting the dream. And the Bengals, they didn't blink. A gritty back-and-forth war, 1-score swings, momentum shifting every quarter. But with just seconds left, the Bengals were down 3. And Joe Burrow had the ball. 1 drive, 1 quarterback, 1 chance at football immortality. Then came 4th down, the play that would decide everything. Burrow took the snap, looked up, and saw Aaron Donald charging right at him. Sacked, season over, dream crushed. The miracle run died. 1 heartbeat from the finish line. Even in defeat, the NFL world had seen enough. Joe Burrow didn't just lead a turnaround, he sparked a resurrection. In just his 2nd season, he dragged a broken franchise to the Super Bowl. He saved a coach's job. He reignited a forgotten fan base. He made Cincinnati believe again. Before Burrow, the Bengals were background noise. Now, they were primetime. Teams used to circle Cincinnati on the schedule as an easy win. Now, they circle it as a warning. He didn't just win games, he rewired expectations. Burrow wasn't just a good quarterback, he was a culture reset. A symbol of what happens when you give the right guy the keys and let him drive. Getting to the Super Bowl is hard. Getting back, even harder. Even legends like Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees only made it once. In 2022, Burrow and the Bengals came this close. A 14-5 record, another AFC Championship appearance, another showdown with Mahomes. But this time the Chiefs got their revenge. Then came 2023 and 2024. Injuries, contract drama, roster mismanagement, back-to-back seasons, no playoffs. But here's the thing. Even in the fog of doubt, there's still one reason to believe. Joe Burrow. He didn't just play for the Bengals, he rebuilt them. From empty stadiums to national relevance. From here we go again to we might actually win this thing. Burrow turned a team everyone laughed at into a team no one wants to face. And even through setbacks, heartbreak, and injuries, one truth remains. He didn't just make Cincinnati believe again. He made the rest of the league take them seriously. Joe Burrow changed the Bengals forever. If you remember that 2-14 season, if you believed before anyone else did, if you watched Burrow make the Bengals dangerous again, well, hit that subscribe button, because this story is far from over. Stay sharp, stay unscripted.